My child, stop for a moment and listen carefully, because this moment is not passing before you by accident. You did not arrive here by chance, and these words are not appearing before your eyes without purpose. I have interrupted the ordinary flow of your day because there is something your spirit must hear right now before doubt speaks louder than truth. There is someone already moving closer to your life even now under my instruction, under my timing, under my unseen direction, and you must not dismiss what I am saying simply because you cannot yet see the full picture. I know how often you have wondered whether I am still arranging anything for you behind the silence, whether I still move when days feel ordinary and nights feel heavy, whether heaven still remembers the details you no longer speak aloud because disappointment taught you to pray more quietly. But hear me now. While you were trying to survive what drained you, while you were trying to make sense of delays that stretched longer than you expected, while you were asking why certain doors stayed closed and why certain answers seemed hidden, I was already moving a person through circumstances you do not know, through roads you cannot trace, through timing you could not control, because I had already decided that your present season would not remain empty forever. Do not scroll past this word in your heart. Do not treat this like another passing message, because what I am revealing concerns something already written before your present confusion even began. Someone has already been assigned in heaven, and whether you recognize it now or later, my hand has already touched their path in relation to yours. Before your tears formed into prayer, before your loneliness became words, before your heart even understood what was missing, I had already begun preparing an answer that carried breath, voice, history, and movement. You believed sometimes that because no immediate sign appeared, nothing was being arranged. But my child, I do not begin when you finally speak. I begin long before your lips move. I knew the emptiness that would visit you before you admitted it even to yourself. I knew the questions that would rise inside you during nights when you looked strong outside but felt weary within. I knew which burdens would become too heavy for you to carry alone, and because I knew, I did not wait until the moment you cried. I had already chosen someone before the prayer reached your mouth. I had already marked timing before your understanding caught up with my plan. This is why you must stop thinking that heaven reacts only after desperation becomes visible. I move from wisdom you cannot measure. I prepare from places your eyes cannot enter. The answer I shaped did not begin when your pain became unbearable. It began while you were still unaware that one day you would need what I had already decided to send. And what makes this holy is that what I prepared is not merely an event, not merely a sudden circumstance, but in part an answer carried in human form, because sometimes what I release into a life must arrive through someone who carries exactly what the season requires. Many miss my answers because they are waiting for thunder when I choose footsteps. Many look for extraordinary signs while ignoring ordinary arrivals. Many expect miracles to descend in ways that remove all mystery. Yet often my miracles enter quietly, wearing faces that do not immediately announce why they matter. Listen closely. Not every answer shines when it first appears. Not every divine movement announces itself with dramatic sound. Sometimes the very thing prayed for enters quietly through conversation, through encounter, through reconnection, through presence so ordinary that only spiritual attention notices the difference. This is why many have watched blessings pass by, because they judged too quickly what did not appear supernatural enough. But I tell you now, some miracles arrive dressed in simplicity. Some turning points enter through ordinary introductions. Some of the greatest shifts I create begin in moments people almost overlook because they expected something louder. Do not assume that because something looks simple it cannot be sacred. I have often hidden major answers inside moments that looked ordinary until time revealed what my hand had done. The face of what I send may not match the picture you built in fear, memory, or imagination, but my purpose does not weaken because appearance looks familiar. There is mystery in what I am telling you because you may already know this person without knowing why your spirit keeps noticing them. You may soon meet them without understanding why the encounter feels strangely timely. You may unexpectedly hear from someone again after distance, silence, or forgotten time, and you may wonder why the moment feels heavier than coincidence. I am telling you this because heaven marks certain crossings long before human memory does. There are meetings I point before either side understands why the path exists. There are names I preserve in silence until the appointed season arrives. There are people whose journeys seem unrelated until one moment reveals that their road and your road were always moving toward a shared point designed by me. So do not assume that because someone belongs to your past, they cannot reappear with new meaning. Do not assume that because someone feels unfamiliar, they cannot carry something deeply connected to your future. I govern timing in ways you cannot predict, and I know how to preserve what matters until your soul can receive it without destroying it through fear or impatience. This is why I warn you now. Do not dismiss too quickly anyone entering your season simply because you have learned caution through old pain. I know why you protect your heart. I know betrayal taught you distance. I know disappointment trained you to pull back before hope rises too high. I know how quickly your mind compares every new movement to what once wounded you. But if you judge every arrival through old injury, you may fail to recognize what is entering under my permission. I am not telling you to trust blindly. I am telling you to remain spiritually awake. There are moments when major turning points enter disguised as simple meetings, simple conversations, simple opportunities, simple presence. The danger is that wounded memory often labels everything ordinary before discernment has time to listen. Yet many of the greatest changes I bring begin quietly, before significance becomes obvious. A conversation can shift direction. A meeting can unlock what delay covered. A person can carry a key you did not know was missing. This is why you must not rush to close your heart where I may be opening something. Type Amen. I receive it, Lord, if you're ready for His blessing today. What I send in this season is connected to more than surface comfort. This person carries connection to healing, to restoration, to direction, to protection, or to breakthrough in ways you do not yet fully understand. That does not mean they replace me. It means I sometimes use human vessels to deliver what a season requires. There are moments when healing comes because someone speaks truth where silence lived too long. There are moments when direction appears because someone confirms what your spirit has struggled to name. There are moments when protection arrives because I place wisdom near you before danger fully reveals itself. There are moments when breakthrough begins because someone carries access, perspective, courage, or peace that shifts what has remained locked. You have prayed often for change without realizing that part of what you asked for would arrive through relationship, through encounter, through presence I intentionally positioned near your path. This is why I am speaking carefully now, because what I release may first look ordinary until its effect begins unfolding. Hear my authority in this clearly. I did not send them by accident. I released them when your soul became ready. I waited because timing protects what heaven sends. And certain arrivals entered earlier. You would not have understood them. Had some people reached you before certain lessons shaped you, fear would have misread them, immaturity would have mishandled them, pain would have resisted them. I delayed what you thought should happen sooner because readiness matters more than speed. I know the state of your inner life better than you do. I know when your heart can receive without collapsing under old reactions. I know when wisdom has grown enough to recognize what matters. I know when certain chapters must close before new movement enters safely. So when I say I released them when your soul became ready, understand that what appears delayed often arrives at the first moment your spirit can carry what comes with it. Timing is not punishment. Timing is protection, preparation, and mercy working together. And before this message reaches its deeper unfolding, hold this final truth in your heart. Before this message ends, you will understand why this connection could change what has been delayed. Not because one person becomes everything, but because I often choose one meeting, one arrival, one conversation, one reconnection, one simple crossing to begin shifting what long remained still. What you called delay may already be moving. What you thought remained untouched may already be under my hand. What seemed silent may already be gathering form beyond your sight. So remain attentive now. Let your spirit stay open. Refuse quick judgment. Refuse fear-led conclusions. Because what I am revealing has not fully unfolded yet, and what appears simple at first may carry more of my intention than you presently see. My child, listen closely, because I want you to understand something your heart has often struggled to believe when days became long and silence seemed endless. Heaven does not begin working only when you finally speak your pain aloud. I do not wait for your voice before I move. I do not wait for tears before I begin arranging what your future will require. Long before your thoughts became prayers, long before your loneliness became something you could no longer hide behind strength, long before your heart reached that place where you whispered in secret that you needed something to change, I had already begun setting answers into motion beyond what your eyes could see. This is why you must not measure my activity by what you immediately feel, because much of what I do begins in silence where human understanding cannot enter. You often think that if nothing visible changes, then nothing is happening. But my child, some of my most important movements begin where no human eye can detect them, where no outward sign confirms them, where your only experience is waiting while heaven quietly builds what will later appear at exactly the appointed time. Please support our channel. Our work is to bring happiness in your life and devotion to God. And if you want, you can donate to us via given link in description or pinned comment to show your support. Before you understood the true shape of your own need, I already knew it completely. Before you admitted how tired your soul had become, I knew where exhaustion was settling inside you. Before you realized how deeply loneliness had stretched through your quiet moments, I had already seen every night where you carried thoughts you did not share with anyone. Before confusion reached the point where you began asking why certain things remained unclear, I had already traced every hidden burden pressing on your spirit. I know the parts of you that speak and the parts of you that remain silent. I know the questions you ask openly and the ones you bury because even speaking them feels difficult. I knew when your smile no longer told the full story. I knew when your strength became something you wore because you did not know what else to do. I knew when hidden exhaustion settled so deeply that even hope became something you carried carefully. And because I knew, I did not wait for you to explain it to me. I began answering before your understanding caught up with what your spirit was already carrying. The person I have spoken of was not selected at the moment your tears finally came. They were not chosen when your loneliness became unbearable. They were not assigned after you reached the point of asking why certain seasons felt so empty. They were selected before tears ever formed. Before one silent cry reached your pillow. Before one whispered prayer rose from a tired heart. Before one uncertain thought asked whether change would ever come. I had already marked movement in ways you did not know. This is how my wisdom works. I prepare before panic. I arrange before urgency. I move before desperation understands what it needs. What feels delayed to you is often preparation, already unfolding according to timing greater than what your emotions can measure. I do not improvise your answers when your pain becomes visible. I work from knowledge that saw your season before your season arrived. Divine timing often happens in silence because silence protects what is being formed. Many things I prepare cannot be explained while they are still becoming ready. If I showed you every movement while it was unfinished, your fear would ask too many questions, your impatience would seek immediate understanding, and your mind would try to force what still needed quiet shaping. So I often allow silence, not because I have withdrawn, but because silence becomes the hidden place where preparation matures safely. While you thought heaven had become quiet, movement was already happening. While you wondered if I had forgotten the details of what burdened you, arrangements were already taking shape beyond what your natural senses could perceive. Silence was never proof of absence. Silence was often proof that unseen work was being protected until the right moment for revealing. There were seasons when you believed nothing was happening because outwardly everything looked unchanged. You woke up to the same unanswered questions. You moved through days that felt ordinary, sometimes heavy, sometimes empty, sometimes difficult to understand. You saw delays where you expected progress. You saw stillness where you hoped for visible signs. You watched doors remain closed and wondered if heaven had simply chosen to remain distant. Yet even in those seasons where you called it stillness, there were movements you did not know existed. Paths were crossing beyond your awareness. Hearts were being shaped in places you could not see. Timing was being guarded carefully because not everything can arrive the moment desire demands it. Some answers require the quiet completion of many unseen details before they can safely enter your life. What feels sudden now is not sudden to me. It only feels sudden because you were not watching where I was working. From my view, this has never been rushed, never improvised, never accidental. I saw the beginning while you only experienced waiting. I saw where each part needed to align while you only felt silence. I knew when certain chapters had to close before new movement could enter without confusion. I knew which parts of your own heart still needed strengthening before what I prepared could reach you without being misunderstood. To you it feels like something appearing suddenly, but to me it is simply the visible arrival of something that has been quietly prepared across time. Think of the seasons where you believed you were simply enduring emptiness. There were days when you thought the repetition meant nothing new was forming. There were moments when disappointment taught you not to expect too much because expecting had hurt before. There were nights when your own thoughts asked whether waiting had meaning or whether silence meant you had been overlooked. Yet even there, my child, unseen preparation continued. While you were learning patience through circumstances you did not choose, other lives were also moving through their own preparation. While you were being strengthened in hidden ways, someone else was also passing through lessons, delays, shaping, correction, and timing under my hand. You saw only your own waiting, but I was governing more than one story at once. This is why I tell you again, heaven begins answers before humans recognize the need. The answer is often already forming while you still struggle to name what hurts. The help is often already moving while you still believe silence means delay. The provision is often already arranged while you still wonder if your prayer has reached me. I do not begin where your understanding begins. I begin where my wisdom has already seen what tomorrow requires. That is why your present must never be judged only by visible evidence. What you call empty may simply be hidden preparation still under my care. You thought at times that because no clear sign came, nothing significant was changing. But many of the most important things I do begin beneath the surface, where trust must survive without visible proof. Your heart often wants immediate reassurance, yet faith grows strongest when it learns that my work does not depend on instant evidence. In those months where nothing obvious appeared, I was not inactive. In those seasons where you repeated the same questions, I had not stepped away. In those long stretches where ordinary life felt almost painfully unchanged, unseen movement continued with exact precision. There were conversations happening far from your knowledge. There were interchanges happening in lives connected to your future. There were delays I allowed because premature arrival would not have carried the right fruit. I knew exactly when your loneliness would deepen enough that you would begin seeing your need differently. I knew when confusion would reach the point where you would finally stop leaning only on your own explanations. I knew when hidden exhaustion would soften parts of your heart that strength alone had kept guarded. And because I knew, I allowed certain quiet seasons not to harm you, but to prepare you for receiving what earlier versions of you might not have understood. Some silence taught you discernment. Some delay revealed what could not satisfy you. Some emptiness exposed where your trust still depended too heavily on immediate comfort. And nothing was wasted, even when you did not understand why the days felt slow. So now hear this deeply. What I prepare is never random, never careless, never late according to truth, even when it feels delayed according to emotion. The person I have prepared did not suddenly appear in my thought because your prayer became urgent. They were already known in my wisdom before your need fully reached your own awareness. Their path was already under my eye while you still believed you were standing in silence alone. Their season and your season were already being measured carefully under timing you could not control. Comment, thank you, Jesus, for guiding me if he's been your compass in the dark. The quiet seasons were not empty seasons. They were working seasons hidden from your sight. What you called nothing may one day reveal itself as preparation so exact that you will understand why silence had to remain until now. And when that understanding fully reaches you, you will see that what appears sudden in your life was never sudden in heaven. It was simply the visible arrival of what had already been prepared long before you knew how deeply you would need it. My child, there is something I need you to understand deeply, because many times you have looked at people entering and leaving your life and wondered why some remained only briefly while others stayed longer, why certain connections came with intensity and then shifted, why some voices arrived exactly when you were weakest and then slowly became distant after their purpose was fulfilled. You often measure relationships only by permanence, but I do not always send people with the same assignment. Not every person I place near you is meant to remain forever, and that does not mean their presence lacked meaning. Some are sent for a season because the season itself carries a specific need, and when that need is fulfilled, the assignment changes. I know human hearts often attach permanence to significance, but significance is not always measured by length. Sometimes one conversation changes more than years of silence. Sometimes one season of support carries enough strength to move you through what you could not cross alone. Sometimes one carefully timed connection becomes the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. That is why you must not misunderstand temporary presence as failure. Some people are seasonal assignments, and even when they do not remain forever, what they carried was still part of my wisdom for that exact chapter. I send different people for different parts of growth because your soul does not need the same thing in every season. The person who could comfort you in one chapter may not be the one who can sharpen you in another. The voice that strengthened you when you were fragile may not be the voice needed when I begin building courage in you. The hand that helped you survive one valley may not be the same hand I use when I call you upward into a place where deeper discernment is required. This is why your life contains different arrivals, different voices, different influences, different moments of connection that each carry something distinct. I do not send carelessly. I send according to what the season is forming inside you. If a season requires healing, I may send gentleness. If a season requires awakening, I may send truth that unsettles comfort. If a season requires correction, I may allow someone near you whose words expose what you would rather ignore. If a season requires courage, I may place strength beside you before you even know why fear has grown so loud. Every assignment has purpose, even when you do not understand it immediately. Certain seasons require voices because silence alone cannot always teach what must be learned. There are moments when you need someone whose words carry clarity when your thoughts are crowded. There are moments when confusion has lingered too long, and I send a voice that speaks with unusual precision into places you could not explain alone. There are times when one sentence from the right person reaches deeper than many private struggles because I designed that moment to unlock something hidden inside you. Not every voice near you carries the same weight, which is why discernment matters. Some voices distract, but some voices arrive carrying exactly what your spirit has been too tired to find on its own. When I send a voice in season, it often reaches you at the exact point where your own strength has become uncertain. Other seasons require comfort because I know when burden has pressed deeper than you admit. I know the chapters where you continue functioning outwardly while inwardly carrying more than anyone sees. In those seasons, I may send presence before explanation, peace before answers, warmth before clarity, because comfort itself becomes a form of healing. You often think help must always look dramatic, but sometimes the right presence itself becomes evidence that I have not left you alone inside what has been heavy. Comfort sent at the right time prevents hidden exhaustion from becoming deeper injury. That is why timing matters so much. What arrives when the soul is tired can preserve parts of you that would otherwise harden in silence. There are also seasons that require correction, though correction is rarely welcomed at first. You do not always enjoy what reveals where you are resisting growth, yet correction given in love protects your future more than unchecked comfort ever could. Sometimes I send people who challenge what has quietly settled in you because if certain patterns remain untouched, they will limit what comes next. Correction is not rejection. Correction is care that refuses to let you remain where you are when I know you are called further. The person sent in such a season may not always feel easy to receive, but their assignment still carries purpose if they awaken what comfort alone could not change. Some seasons require wisdom because your own understanding has reached its edge. There are moments when choices ahead hold more weight than you realize, and I send wisdom through people who see something you do not yet fully see. Wisdom may come through counsel, warning, perspective, restraint, or insight that seems simple until later events reveal how necessary it was. I know how often you ask me for signs while overlooking wisdom standing near you in ordinary form. Yet wisdom is often one of the quietest gifts I send, because true wisdom rarely arrives loudly. It often speaks calmly while emotion speaks urgently. This is why you must listen carefully in seasons where decisions matter. And there are seasons requiring covering, because not every battle is visible. Sometimes I place people near you whose presence itself becomes protection, people who steady your thinking, guard your direction, remind you of truth, or help keep you from walking too quickly into what would wound you. Covering is not always obvious, yet it often protects more than you understand in the moment. I know when unseen pressure is building around you, and I know when your heart needs reinforcement before you fully recognize what is pressing against you. The arrival I have spoken of matches the exact emotional state you are in now, because I do not send blindly. I know whether your present need is comfort, wisdom, healing, direction, correction, or quiet reassurance. I know where your thoughts become tired at night. I know where old disappointments still influence new expectations. I know where hidden weariness makes you question whether fresh movement can still happen. I know where your strength remains, and I know where you feel fragile even when you do not say it aloud. Because I know what I send fits the season with precision. This is why timing matters more than appearance. What looks ordinary may actually fit perfectly, because I measure by need, not by image. You may ask why such help did not arrive earlier. The answer is simple. Earlier, you would not have understood it correctly. If certain people had entered when your heart was still shaped by earlier pain, you may have resisted what you now can receive. If sent earlier, you might have judged by fear what was meant for healing. You may have misread truth as threat, wisdom as interruption, kindness as something suspicious, correction as rejection, or support as unnecessary, because your soul was not yet ready to recognize why it mattered. Timing protects understanding. Some gifts become clear only after certain inner changes have already begun. Earlier versions of you still carried redactions that would have distorted what I intended. You had lessons still unfinished, wounds still too fresh, attachments still too strong, expectations still built around what had not yet been surrendered. So I waited, not because I forgot, but because waiting allowed readiness to develop. You often call delay empty because you do not see what delay protects. Yet many delays prevent misreading what arrives too soon. And if I had sent this later, you would risk missing needed help exactly when the season requires it now. There are moments where timing is narrow because what arrives too late cannot support what is immediately ahead. Some seasons contain pressures you do not yet fully see, and I send before certain weight becomes too great. If wisdom comes too late, confusion deepens. If comfort comes too late, exhaustion hardens. If correction comes too late, wrong paths strengthen. If covering comes too late, avoidable wounds appear. This is why timing matters more than appearance, because exact timing often reveals more of my care than dramatic appearance ever could. You often notice appearance first, how something looks, how someone sounds, whether the form matches your expectation. But I look deeper. Does this fit what the season requires? Does this arrive where your heart now stands? Does this carry what your present chapter needs? That is how I send. What fits your soul matters more than what first impresses your eyes. So understand this clearly. I send people in specific seasons because seasons themselves carry different assignments, and your growth requires different kinds of help at different moments. Some remain long, some remain briefly, some return unexpectedly, some speak once and leave lasting impact. Some stand near quietly and still carry immense purpose. Do not judge meaning only by duration. Judge by what fruit appears in your spirit after the encounter. Sometimes one season changes because one person arrived exactly when heaven knew your heart needed what they carry. And because my timing is exact, what seems ordinary now may later become one of the clearest signs that I knew precisely what your soul required before you could explain it yourself. My child, hear me carefully in this part of your journey, because what I am about to say can protect you from overlooking what I have intentionally placed before you. Do not judge too quickly what enters your life simply because it does not immediately match what you expected. Human hearts often make decisions within moments, building conclusions from appearances, tone, timing, memory, and emotion before discernment has had time to breathe. You have learned this world by observing patterns, by protecting yourself, by deciding quickly what feels safe and what feels uncertain. But not everything that first appears ordinary should be dismissed, and not everything unfamiliar should be treated as unworthy of deeper attention. There are moments when your first impression is shaped more by old memory than present truth, more by what once wounded you than by what I am doing now. That is why I speak clearly. Do not allow first impressions alone to decide what deserves no further spiritual attention, because many times what I send enters quietly enough that only patience reveals its meaning. You often expect my movement to look obvious when it first appears. You expect that if I send something meaningful, it should arrive carrying immediate certainty, immediate recognition, immediate emotional confirmation, immediate visible proof. But I do not always work according to what human expectation calls obvious. I often send through vessels that do not immediately appear extraordinary because I know how quickly the human eye becomes distracted by appearance and misses substance. If I'd always sent through what looked impressive, many would begin trusting appearance more than discernment. So I often allow my work to arrive clothed in simplicity, where only those who pause long enough can sense what outward signs do not immediately explain. The vessel may seem ordinary. The moment may feel simple. The encounter may not announce itself dramatically, yet hidden within it can be something carefully appointed by my hand. Do not forget how often throughout your life I have used unexpected things to accomplish what you later recognized as deeply important. There were times when answers did not come from the direction you expected. There were seasons when the help you needed arrived through people you did not first imagine would matter. There were moments when one quiet conversation carried more truth than louder signs you had once hoped for. I do not limit my movement to what fits your imagination. I know exactly how to send through what pride might overlook, through what fear might underestimate, through what wounded expectation might initially ignore. That is why you must remain open enough to let discernment mature before judgment closes the door. Sometimes answers arrive without obvious signs because not every answer is designed to impress at first glance. Some answers must unfold slowly so your spirit learns to recognize fruit rather than chase dramatic signals. Many look only for what shines, only for what immediately feels extraordinary, only for what carries visible certainty. Yet I tell you again, some of the deepest movements I create begin in ways so quiet that only later do you realize how significant the beginning truly was. A person may enter without dramatic announcement. A conversation may begin without immediate intensity. A presence may feel calm rather than overwhelming. Yet what appears simple can still carry assignment. This is why quick dismissal becomes dangerous when you assume meaning must always arrive wrapped in obvious signs. Write Amen. My heart trusts you if you still believe in His promises. And share this video.